starting with banter again, or going right into the show?
Start with banter. We just started with banter.
I know, but we weren't recording. We that
Are we
unrecorded.
recording? Are we recording now?
We are recording.
Okay, yeah. So
right.
we will start with banter, and we will start.
Then
the show.
introduce the show.
Yeah.
All right. So that everybody listening, this is our first,
This
officially
is
our first show.
This is the first episode of the Ninja Rob podcast.
And we need to decide. It's a podcast.
No.
The podcast.
The podcast
for
the true martial artist.
Because we had originally agreed to a true martial artist.
Right.
So
just say it. Say the whole thing. The podcast for the true martial artist. And then you say your version.
The podcast for a true martial artist.
Right.
Sounds way better when I say it.
Right. So we'll figure that out before the show comes out, I'm sure. So I'm Tim Carpenter. I own Hellfish Mixed Martial Arts. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, former professional fighter, and that's all I can think of right now. How about you?
I am Marco Perazzo. I own New Jersey Martial Arts. I'm also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
How many stripes?
3.
Me too.
I'm a father figure to Tim Carpenter. You can't say that. But, yeah, I've been friends with Tim, I don't know, like, what, 18 years now? 19?
Well, depends on how you...
That's how you determine friends.
So I met you in 97, but we weren't friends then.
We're not friends now.
We were acquaintances.
Yeah.
Like we became friends in the aughts, maybe.
Man, don't get me started on the aughts, because you gotta get through the butt cheeks to get to the aught. Anyway, so this is our podcast, Ninja Rob. We will determine if it is the podcast for a or the true martial artist. That's to be determined later.
Right.
We'll be putting these out weekly. We'll have guests. At some point, we will get into the history of why this is called Ninja Rob. We'll have a very special guest on for that show. We'll give you guys some lead time to that, and we will talk MMA, grappling, martial arts, boxing, kickboxing. We'll talk about training modalities, teaching, the business of martial arts, and we'll address some questions that that we get. If you want to check us out on the internet, Ninja Rob Podcast on most social media, and ninjarob.com. So let's get started, Mr. Carpenter. Big events.
Did you watch them this weekend?
Or did you?
So,
go ahead.
You're a big fan of watching like the highlights on Instagram.
No, I'm actually I'm a bigger fan of reading the description on SureDog.
Reading someone else's opinion of it.
Someone else's
interpretation of the event.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Which I didn't even do that for this.
No, you don't even know what happened.
No, I do know what happened. I know the outcomes. The outcomes have definitely been the one outcome's kind of surprising.
Which one?
The Michael Venom Page.
You were surprised by that?
I didn't think he was going to get knocked out.
Oh.
I mean, he's fought some pretty, like for not being in the UFC.
He hasn't really fought anybody. Anybody at his level.
Semtex.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, so
yeah. Good point.
At this point, you say, sorry, I was wrong.
I don't say I'm sorry. I say I apologize.
Can you apologize then?
I just did.
You said, I say apologize.
And as I said it, that was the apology.
All right. So let's go back to Michael Venom Page getting starched.
Yeah. I love seeing, I think Michael Venom Page is a very impressive fighter, but I love seeing guys that try to clown their opponents get brutally knocked out. Because it's one of my favorite sporting experiences that I've ever had.
Yeah. So who else have you seen this kind of like Prince Nassim Hamed?
He never did. I think it was Barrera might have really put it to him.
Nice.
Or took it to
for all
him.
the boxing fans out there.
Yeah.
We know boxing too.
But the best was I think it was Nate Campbell, the boxer. I think that was his name. He was like totally tooling this guy up, and they were kind of clinched up, like almost like shoulder to shoulder. He just put his hands down. I was like looking at the guy real cocky, and the guy just took a lean back, hit him with like a right hook, I think it was.
As you throw a left hand, but go ahead.
Completely flattened him. That was one of the best. And it was, I think it was Max Kellerman was calling it. He was freaking out about how, this is why you keep your hands up.
Max Kellerman, the rapper or the boxing analyst?
He's a rapper?
You don't know about Max Kellerman's rap career?
No.
Man, Devin doesn't even know, and Devin's deep into the rap game.
Oh.
Max, look, for all of our fans out there. Yo, by the way, 19 followers on Instagram.
Already?
Blown up. I think that's close to viral. Yeah, Max Kellerman has a rap career, and I think his brother was killed by a roommate, like brutally murdered. But anyway, yeah, not to bring the podcast down.
Back to MVP.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like I thought Lima would destroy him because
Really?
Yeah, like I don't think people realize how good Lima is.
I mean, he's got a very impressive record. He's like 31-7, or
Right,
something
and his
like that.
his loss, he's got lost to Ben Askren. He's got I think he might have lost to Masvidal at one point. I could be wrong about that. And he lost to Rory McDonald in a fight that was super close. But just his whole overall game, his striking, his grappling, everything is like
It looks like a very
world class level. And
wait. So this is you're a very dear friend, but when we're talking world class level, what does that mean?
world class MMA level fighter.
Okay, not world class striking.
In MMA, yes, world class level striking in MMA.
No. He's a world class
So
MMA fighter. He doesn't have world class striking.
In MMA, he does. So I think you're completely off base here because we've seen many world class strikers get completely demolished by very average strikers in MMA.
Right, but that still doesn't take away the fact that they're world class boxers or world class Muay Thai fighters.
But
or
so is it possible to be a world class striker in MMA without being a world class striker outside of MMA?
I don't think so.
Why not?
You're asking my opinion.
Yeah, but why do you have that opinion?
Because if you're a world class striker, you'd be so if you're world class, your boxing is world class, then you'd be a boxing world champion.
Not if you didn't compete in boxing and you just
well,
compete
then
in
you
MMA.
need to compete in boxing. You're in the wrong sport.
But I'm saying the striking in MMA is world class. And I'm not saying anything outside of MMA. I'm not
So
saying.
you're saying so within the confines of MMA, his striking is world class.
Yes.
No.
Even though he knocked out what most people would consider a world class striker in Michael Venom Page.
Again, I'm not saying that
kicked his leg out from under him and then knocked him out with a punch.
Again, you're stating some facts and then some opinions. I think they would use the word conflating.
No, I'm just making a very solid, easily provable point.
No.
That he's at the. Would you say Douglas Lima is at a world class level in MMA?
I'd have to read the guy's opinions on Sherdog to make that determination. But so I think no, because he's not a world champion.
Well, he has been.
Where?
In Bellator.
I mean, are you really a world champion in Bellator? No offense to anybody in Bellator.
I mean, really, you're not a world champion in anything if you're going to have that opinion. Like all world championships are just organizations that just claim to be the gold standard in the world champion. So you can't use that argument. That's silly.
No, you can because you can be. I'm a world champion at NAGA, the NAGA Worlds,
right?
Or am I
an IBJJF world champion?
Yeah,
they're both organizations that just started running tournaments. There's no difference. It's just the level of competition is better.
Wait. There's no difference. But there's a difference in the level of competition. I just want to be clear.
But there's no difference.
No, I thought there was no difference.
They just created a medal and said it's a world championship.
Okay.
And the NAGA created a medal and said it's a world championship. There's still.
Which one would you rather have?
NAGA, for sure. No, of course, IBJJF, it's more prestigious.
Right.
But at the
You'd
end
be
of
a
the
real
day,
world champion.
They're both just organizations that claim to be the ultimate in grappling.
Not ultimate champion.
Right.
World champion. But going back to it. So Douglas Lima, I would equate being Bellator champion, and no offense, because I know you fought a lot in Bellator, and you know I don't want to get you upset. It would kind of be like being an NCAA champion. Very good, very high level, but not a world champion, not an Olympic champion. Right? If we were equated to wrestling.
So you would argue that Eddie Alvarez, who was the Bellator world champion, and then lost the Bellator World Championship, came over to the UFC and won the UFC World Championship. Is he world class or not?
Sure, but let's not forget that he won that title back, then went to the UFC.
Right.
So he wasn't a former champion coming into
Was he the champ when he left? I don't think so.
I believe so. Well, whatever, but he won. He beat Chandler.
Oh, whatever. I think that's a big distinction to make.
Oh, okay. So he won the champ. He lost it, won it back, went to the UFC, won it, then solidified himself as in my mind, the Hall of Famer.
I didn't ask about the Hall of Fame.
I'm
We're
giving you
talking
that.
about world class. So
Yes, but I'm
Ben
also
Askren
adding,
is another guy who's
hey,
world champion Bellator, world
as an
champion
insider,
one.
you seem a little upset today. Is everything okay?
Well, you're making silly arguments
Yeah, but you seem, like
because they're very
palpably angry.
because they're. Come on.
All right, I just want to make sure you're not upset.
No.
All right.
It's just these arguments are silly that you have, but
Well, if you don't understand the nuances of it, I can understand why you get angry.
um,
But go ahead. So we're talking about Michael Venom Page and Douglas Lima. So what I've seen of Lima, especially in the highlights of that fight, is that he was. It seemed like he. Did you watch the fight?
Yeah.
A lot of people go into fighting Michael Venom Page from the other fights that I've seen somewhat scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
Lima didn't seem to be scared whatsoever, and also unimpressed with MVP, as they like to call him. There is again microphone problems. Yeah.
Yeah, but the bean was here.
Just our sound, the beautiful SFX Studios, Devin Wade. But go ahead. So it seemed like Lima was unafraid and just walking through him.
Yeah, that's the key to fighting a guy like that. You see, if you watch like Glory, there's guys like Raymond Daniels who are these crazy spinning kick guys, and really that stuff only works if you stand in front of them and you're like tentative with what you do. But if you
pausing, right? Like
if you just walk them down and kick their legs, they can't get any of that stuff off really.
This is not the first time he has had his leg kicked, but it was the timing of it, but also the power of that leg kick to level him.
Yeah.
Right. And then having the wherewithal, I believe it was a right hook, and there I am throwing a right hand, right? Catching him, didn't even look like a very strong punch, but looked like it caught him like square on the button.
Yeah.
And then he came in with as I referred to in a pilot episode, a hammer fist to finish him off.
Yeah, it was a good assessment of the fight.
Yeah.
And Douglas Lima's world-class striking.
From a highlight reel. But so Doug, for under your rule set for MMA, okay, I'll give you that, but I wouldn't say he's a world-class striker.
All right, moving on. So you saw?
No, I did not.
You didn't see?
No,
I didn't see it either. But
No.
BJ Penn got beat up by Clay Guida.
Again. Well, not again by Clay Guida, but this is his 7th straight loss in the UFC.
Maybe more. I don't know. I think he tied or broke the record for the longest losing streak.
What's amazing to me is that he's still in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
He's still getting asked to fight. He still wants to fight. Like nobody's told him, "Hey, BJ."
I don't know if he's getting asked or if he's asking.
Either way, somebody's letting him fight.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate.
It's a shame because I don't know. At least our group of friends, I was probably the biggest BJ Penn fan. I was there in Brazil in 2000, watched his match when he became the first American to win the World Championships of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Who'd he beat?
Edson Denise.
Nice.
Yeah, in your face.
I know.
How's that? Any other questions? Any other silly questions you'd like to ask? No. All right. So he beats Edson Denise in the finals, and you're like, wow. I think a year or two later he's fighting in the UFC, maybe even sooner, and was coming in as the prodigy, this jiu-jitsu guy that could punch, and you weren't used to seeing that from a jiu-jitsu guy, right? That could throw his hands a little bit. But I really believe that the first BJ Penn we saw is the same BJ Penn he's been throughout his fight career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's gotten much better.
He didn't really add any tools.
Right. Like you never really saw his wrestling.
Right.
Right. You never saw, how many people did he really submit? He's got 7 losses, so obviously he didn't submit 7 people in those 7 losses.
Right.
And then, I
think he's a guy that he liked to try to knock people out.
Right.
A lot. Like he liked his hands. And I think he's also a guy that got away with using his physical tools. You know what I mean? Without not so much relying on, like you said, adding new techniques and getting sharper with techniques. It was just like he's fast and he hits hard. He's got crazy flexible jiu-jitsu. He can scramble good.
I don't even know if he's like that fast. I
think he's incredibly quick.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. He's a deceptive looking guy. So he doesn't look like an athletic guy when you look at him.
I don't know anything about that.
He's one of those guys. He can like jump out of a swimming pool, like he's up to his waist.
I've seen that. Yeah.
So that takes an incredible amount of like fast twitch muscle and explosive power, and it also explains why he always gets tired so quick.
Okay.
because he's a very explosive, fast fighter. He just doesn't look like what you would think of
like
as
a George St. Pierre or somebody like that.
right.
Right. Yeah, and he's, like there's always been rumors floating around that, he's not he's not always in the gym or he likes to party a little bit, and like that kind of stuff. So, look, it's cool when you're first starting out to be the prodigy, but at some point you have to fulfill that
You gotta become
nickname.
the master.
Yeah, right. You can't be the prodigy. I'm too old to be the prodigy.
Right. You can't be a 40-year-old prodigy.
Yeah,
You can only be a prodigy in your teens, really.
Teens, early 20s, and then you move on from there.
Even 20s, you can't be a prodigy. I think prodigy is between like 6 and 18, maybe.
Okay, I mean,
Maybe
I could go with that. I mean, and he was definitely when it came to jiu-jitsu for Americans and how quickly he was able to rise up through the ranks and win a world championship. I watched something on him yesterday where I think 98 he was competing as a blue belt, 99 he was competing as a brown belt, 2000 he won the black belt world championships. It's like, there's very few people doing that nowadays.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a student about, we were talking about guys that get their black belts really quick. As he was saying, he's got like a full-time job. He works, but he wants to do like a lot of stuff. Like he wants to be really good at jiu-jitsu. He wants to like hunt. He wants to like be good at lifting weights. He wants to do all this stuff, and he's trying to figure out how to like sort of how to get good at everything.
Quit his job.
But then, that's what I told him. I was like, I mean, you could definitely, because he's a physically talented guy, and he's good. And I was like, you could definitely get your black belt in 3 years if you quit your job and you just lived in the gym and just did nothing but train. And compete. Like that's a possibility. And I said, those guys that do that they're not working full-time jobs. They don't have kids usually. You know what I mean? They're just
or if they do have kids, their family supporting their this dream.
Or they have some sort of crazy sponsorship deal, or they come from money, something that allows them to just focus on training. And I also told him, you can't like compare yourself to that because you're 26, 27-year-old guy with a full-time job and a girlfriend and a life. You can give all that up and just focus on becoming the best at jiu-jitsu in the world.
Well, yeah, and yet, I read a quote from Devontae Johnson. I don't think he's a world champion, but he's like a high-level jiu-jitsu competitor. And he was talking about how much he sacrifices to run a school and to be an active competitor where he can't even see his friends from outside of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's like, because if you want to compete to win, those are the sacrifices that you have to make.
Why do you have any friends outside of jiu-jitsu?
Well, from before that life, pre-jiu-jitsu.
Sometimes you gotta
just cut them loose.
You gotta cut those things off.
So going back to BJ, back in 2000, he was the man. 2019, hang it up, bro. It's over. Like they just have to stop booking his fights.
Yeah, I don't think they should let him fight. His last, I'm trying to think when he started really getting beat up. It was, I think when he lost to Nick Diaz.
Man, he
took more punches, and that I think Nick Diaz like set the record in that fight for most punches landed.
Right.
And then his brother broke it like 2 fights later. But he got beat up really bad by Nick Diaz. Then he got similarly really bad, like just pieced up by Rory McDonald.
I mean, Rory McDonald's a big guy for one set, and BJ's a small guy.
The other thing I was looking at is like almost all of his losses are in like out of his best weight class was 155.
For sure.
I think he only had maybe like 1 or 2 losses there. All his losses are at like heavyweight,
right.
170.
Well, didn't he fight
and
Lyoto
145
Machida at one point?
Yeah. And Machida was 230. I think BJ was like 190.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I give him credit for all that.
He fought Henzo at 180. I think. Like all of his losses are outside of his weight class.
I love Henzo's quote when they were building that fight up. I was doing this when BJ was a glimmer in his father's nutsack. To quote the great Henzo Gracie. Yeah, so BJ, we love you. We appreciate what you did. Tim Carpenter. Well, I'm not going to speak for Tim Carpenter, but I think you should just retire and ride off into the sunset in Hawaii, eat poi, and do whatever people do in Hawaii when they're not getting ready for fights.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that it on?
That's it.
Do you have anything you want to add about BJ?
BJ? No, I mean, I loved watching him fight when he had it in him, but not anymore.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's the cardio that.
I can't Does anybody still want to see BJ fight?
Unless they just want to see him get beat up.
That's what I'm, I think the only reason someone would want to see it is if they want to see him get hurt, because his losses haven't been like competitive, like great fights where he just like barely missed out.
Right.
It's been like
So
he's
according
either
to
been getting knocked out or dominated by people.
Sherdog had him winning the first round and then dominated the next
Mm-hmm.
two. Right. And again, that's cardio. That's that's appropriate because you can't say it's an adrenaline dump. He's competed enough to be able to
Right.
deal with that. Right?
Right.
So this is lack of some sort of preparation. What about the people around him? I know we were supposed to end, but I know he had Jason Perillo as his boxing coach. The dudes at Nova Uniao, aren't. It doesn't somebody have the responsibility to say, "Hey, BJ, enough."
Who was the skinny Brazilian guy from Nova?
Renato Verissimo.
Yes.
Charuto.
Yeah, that's that
Yeah.
guy's- yeah.
That was it. You just wanted.
I just
to know,
couldn't remember
You
his
just
name.
wanted a guy's name.
Yeah, I just
Beautiful.
couldn't remember
Okay,
the guy's
you're
name.
welcome.
He was actually a good fighter too. He
Good fighter. Really good
he-
at jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah, but he fought in the UFC a little bit, had some good wins.
I heard a story about him trading a gi for like a watch.
What did he get? He got the gi or the
He
watch?
got the watch.
Oh.
He was like, I want the watch. I'll give you the gi. Anyway,
What kind of watch and what
I
kind
think it was
of
like a
gi?
digital Seiko or something. Nothing too impressive. He was like a poor kid,
Pro Force unbleached.
possibly. Yeah. What are you drinking there, buddy? A little Hulk juice?
This is BCAAs
Branch chain aminos.
mixed with some Essentia water and also some sparkling LaCroix.
LaCroix. Moving on.
Remember that drink Squirt?
Loved it.
That's what this tastes like. It's amazing.
I mean, you might want to patent it.
No thanks.
No? All right.
I just wanted to share it with the people.
The people. Unlike the
People.
unlike the file that you shared on Google Drive that you're not quite sure how that works.
Right.
So, as a school owner, moving on from fighting, I told you about what I'd like to talk about. It would be more the podcast, but what's going on over at Hellfish? What kinds of things are you doing?
I got a guy fighting on Saturday. He's having his first Muay Thai fight. Getting kids ready for competition in June.
So you said Saturday Muay Thai fight?
Saturday Muay Thai fight. That's why we were going to record this on Saturday, but then I realized that I can't make it because I have to go to
Where's the fight?
Hamburg, Pennsylvania,
Wow.
birthplace of the hamburger.
I don't think so, but might be the birthplace of Hamburg. So who's this gentleman that's fighting?
Trey Hoffner.
Never heard of her.
He's good. He's going to do well. He's been to Thailand and trained in Thailand.
Okay.
This is his first fight. He's like a young, athletic kid. He'll do well. We did a fight simulation at the gym a couple weeks ago. Because I like to do that especially before somebody's first fight.
So what goes into it? When you do a fight simulation, what's that mean?
Fight simulation, we have a ref. We have somebody act as a ref. We have people act as cornermen.
Is there a weight cut involved or?
No weight cutting. Just they show up to the gym. We tell them that they're gonna have a serious, real fight that day. So they get
Set time, they know.
set time. They know to show up, get warmed up, and they're gonna be like nervous and then we also tell everybody that is there that day. And I make announcements a couple weeks before to, if you can come in for the fight simulation after class. So we split the students into teams, and like one team cheers for one guy, one team cheers for the other guy. And I tell them like be very loud anytime something hits, like make a lot of noise. And then we just do whatever the time limit is. This is 3 2-minute rounds, so we did 3 2-minute rounds.
So what's the rule set for his fight coming up?
It's glory rules, so it's kickboxing. No elbows,
Knees,
knees you can do, but you clinch for 5 seconds.
head, knees to the head, or
I'm not sure about the knees to the head.
you might want to find that out.
But yeah, I'm excited. He's been working hard for it, so I think he'll do well.
Who's he fighting? Like, what do you have any idea what camp they're, as they like to refer to, what camp the opponent's from?
No, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. I think the guy had a karate background. That's what Trey had told me.
Okay.
Or whoever.
Watch out for the sidekick.
Yeah, it's like I told Trey the same thing with like Lima fighting Michael Venom Page. The only way that guy can hit you with that stuff is if you're pausing in front of him and just as if you get on this guy and kick him in his legs, he can't do any of that stuff.
Right.
So especially in a somewhat small ring. But didn't you want to talk about Keenan Cornelius's thing?
I mean, comes in a little later, but yeah, we could definitely talk about that now. No
It does,
problem
because it
whatsoever.
looks like it comes in
So, because
right after the BJ Penn talk. So why would it come in later if it's right
I
there?
go using the podcast to help us reach more people. Did you see that note there?
No, I see up here. I see Keenan Cornelius video right after BJ Penn.
Any new things? Oh, you're right.
I know.
Man, how do you word it?
I apologize.
I apologize to you, Tim Carpenter, on my mistake.
Right.
Yes, Keenan Cornelius. Recently, I was going to say deceased, but he's still alive. He has, quote unquote, been thrown out of, asked to leave, but also left Team Atos and has become seemingly a true jiu-jitsu Ronin, where he's training everywhere. Recently, he was in New York City training at with the Death Squad with John. As I look to the heavens, John Danaher. Every time I say John Danaher, I look to the heavens. He trains at Unity. I think he trained with JT. Did a seminar, and he'll be representing. I forget what team he said.
BJJ Globetrotters.
Yeah, that's it. BJJ Globetrotters.
I didn't even know that was a team. I thought that was like a website.
Yeah, that was like a T-shirt company. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he said that they're the most lenient. So he signed up for the Worlds. You have to have a certified team through the IBJJ. You have to sign up for the Worlds. And he was talking about leaving Atos. Well, he wasn't specifically talking about leaving Atos, but he was saying that you're as a student, you're a customer, and if you don't like the environment or what's going on at your school, you have the right, also almost like the responsibility to leave the environment that you're unhappy with to find one that you are happy with.
Mhm.
And there's an opposite side to that coin, right?
I don't think so.
Well, you haven't even let me tell you what the opposite side of that coin is.
Well, you asked me, we said it right, and I just answered. So you continue, though.
You're letting me continue. I appreciate that. Thank you. So the opposite side of that coin is then if it's just a transaction like that, then you can't, as the customer, then what are you paying for? Right? So you got to kind of like be very, just like, all right, if you're looking at it like, all right, this is a transaction, then you're paying for lessons. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Any kind of coaching at a tournament, any kind of support, any kind of extra services, then get charged a la carte if that's the idea that we're operating under. Yeah. That's the other side of the coin. Is it? So? You agree or disagree?
So a couple things about what he said. So I doubt he was paying at Atos.
Okay, right, but he was
So,
referring to customers, right? So
right, but I don't like. So yeah, for sure, if you're a paying customer and you don't like the situation you're in, you should leave.
Right, a paying customer, and we're referring to martial arts.
But even if you're at a gym for 10 years and you're one of the best brown belts there or black belt, and you don't like the direction the gym is going, and you should leave.
100% agree. Yeah.
So I think, but it also changes. Like competitors are different because often competitors aren't paying members. They're either like cleaning the mats or they're doing work at the gym. They have some kind of job. They teach classes. They have some kind of job at the gym that covers their membership.
So you're bartering, right? It's still there is a transaction there,
right?
And you could pull your transaction back if you're not, if you're unhappy, right?
Right. So, and I think sort of inherent with the membership comes if that's the kind of gym you're at, like the coaching, like if someone's going to be teaching you jiu-jitsu and they're teaching you competitive jiu-jitsu, they should be coaching you when you compete. But I also think that should be pretty clearly laid out in the beginning when somebody comes in.
So my understanding with like say competitive cheerleading, right? You go and you learn how to do it, whatever, or dearly departed friend Jason Guerrero owned one or with his wife. And then he would tell me, he goes, if I go to a cheering meet, I get paid to go coach at that meet. Right? If I'm not getting paid, I'm not going. Right? And that's not the culture in jiu-jitsu. The culture is your student pays for lessons. And one of the benefits that they get is if they compete, you go coach them.
Hopefully.
Oh, right. Yeah. If you can make it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's how I do it. I mean,
I
try
as well.
Like if I've drove up to New York for one like blue belt to compete, just to try to coach her.
Right. So I'm not saying that's not. So these are things that we do or we have done. But Keenan is saying, well, if you're unhappy with, you're a paying customer, you pay. Right. But what are you really paying for? Because I could pull the extra added benefits away at any point, and you're still getting what you're paying for.
Right. So you can be giving you can be giving somebody everything that they pay for, coaching at tournaments, good training, good technique, all that stuff, clean facility, but you might just be an asshole, and the person doesn't like the way the gym vibe is. The person doesn't like the way you sort of treat certain members better than other members,
Right.
like that kind of
Everybody's
stuff.
got. There's a reason. There's always a reason. Why a guy leaves, right?
Yep. And they should leave. And like as an owner, I don't want anybody that's not vibing with the way the gym is going. Like if they're like, I don't like this, then
right. So they talk about a toxic culture, but then there's also toxic students, right? I mean, that guy would fall.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want a toxic student. Somebody, if you're not happy here, then either let's figure out a way to fix it and get you happy, or get you to leave.
Right. If it's something I'm doing, I would like to know.
Right.
If there's something I'm doing that is wrong, not just that they perceive might be wrong, because like, a white belt, blue belt, they don't. How the fuck would they know what's right or wrong?
Right, but also you got to it still could be wrong, and they could approach you, or they think it's wrong, and you're like, this is the way I operate. This is the way I do it. This is going to continue to go down this path. Now you need to make this decision. Either you change how you feel about it, or you leave. One or the other, because I'm going to continue. It's kind of like somebody telling you, hey, Tim, you're not going to, I don't like the way you teach that arm bar. I think you should teach it this way. No, bro, you don't tell me how to teach this. I tell you how to learn it.
What's wrong with the way I teach arm bar?
I haven't seen it in a while. I could break that down later if you'd like.
Yeah, I agree. So I agree with everything he said, and but there is a weird thing where people feel obligated. I think, like once they're a member, but it's not just obligation to the instructor of this gym.
It's called a barrier to exit, right? It's difficult to leave.
There,
yeah,
they have a whole social group there that they're
you're used to the training. You like the training. I think that's, and a lot of this stuff becomes easier, especially in jiu-jitsu, that's why you see a lot of these schools become closed off, right? Where they don't cross-train with other schools, or they don't have an open environment where they let other people in, or they let their students, realize that it's okay to visit other places for the mere fact that you're getting a workout, you're learning some jiu-jitsu, and you're sharing the art with people with a like-minded kind of idea that you have.
Did you watch that whole interview, or just watch the Instagram clip?
No, I watched the one. It was a 20-minute interview he did when he was at Homolo Barral School. I watched the whole 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, he said, I think it was in that one where he was talking about how, because he's been going, and this is one of the reasons I like to train with different people at different gyms, is it's almost like you're competing every time you get on the mat. So when you're at your home gym, people's games, what they're gonna do. What you're going to do. So it can get monotonous or like repetitive, unless people are doing what they should be doing and constantly trying new things and trying to add new things. But
I mean, like, look, you and I have trained together for however many years we've been training together. And it's like Keenan says, you could set a clock to, I'm going to try and do this pass. You're going to do that. You're going to try and attack my back. I'm going to try and escape the back attack and get on top. It's like, it's almost, all right, at 30 seconds, this is going to happen. A minute, that's going to happen. A minute.
But that's what he said, because he's been just training at everybody else's schools this whole time. So he said his body's getting broken down, because it's like he's competing every time. Everybody's like saving their energy. He's got like a target on his back.
And what happens if you're a competitive guy, right? Like Keenan Cornelius, because he walks into any school and he's the best guy in the room, right? I mean, with the exception of 2 or 3 schools, right? And every student that maybe thinks they're pretty good and doesn't compete.
Probably the most well-known guy in the room.
And best, right? I mean,
maybe. What
school does he walk into that the guys are better than him? Like multiple guys. Maybe that squad, right? Right. So, so if I see a world champion come in and I'm not really a competitor, but I'm a competitive guy, I'm like, shit, I'm gonna give this guy everything I got. And that's every single guy he's going against is doing that.
And it could also be like, I've had this happen where like, I've trained 5 days in a row, and my body's beat down and tired, and then you go in with like a guy that's like trains 3 days a week.
It's fresh, super strong,
but he's also really, really good. Because you can be really good training just 3 days a week.
Yeah,
like
for
there's
sure.
nothing,
You're not going to be a world champion, but you could be really good.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like a guy like BJ Penn could probably become world champion training 3 days a week.
Not nowadays, but back then.
But yeah, so that a guy like that coming at you he can put it on you.
Yeah, especially if you've gone 6, 7, 8 hard rounds, and then now there's this big monster blue belt, coming after you. So coming back full circle, you agree with Keenan, as do I, but there's also the other side of it is that the student does have some responsibility to not expect certain things if they're not promised, right?
Might repeat that?
So the student can't expect certain things that aren't, like you said earlier, clearly laid out. Because I have a rule at my school for competitors. If I say I'm going to be there, I will be there. Like you, 1 guy, 10 guys, 15 guys, a couple girls sprinkled in because we have way more men than women. I'll be there. I'll travel to New York, wherever it happens to be. If I don't commit to going, then I'm not typically going to go, with the one exception. If you come to me and ask me, would I go? Right? Because I'll tell you, like, I can't go, or I'll either say I can or cannot go. There's one of our brown belts, Rob Lemazny. He was the first guy to do it in the 3 or 4 years I've been kind of telling people, these are the tournaments I will be coaching at. The other ones I may or may not go to. The other ones I've gone to outside of my predetermined ones, I just decided last minute that I was going to go. He calls me. He's like, hey, you doing anything Saturday? I go, no, why? He's like, I'm doing the grappling industries in New York. Do you want to come up and coach me? And I go, as long as I can get my kids' class covered, as long as I can get my 2 other classes covered, and I don't have anything going on with my wife, yes, I'll go.
So you going?
I went.
Oh, you already
Yeah, we went up. That was this past Saturday.
How'd he do?
He 0-3. First match, I think it was like 13-0. Second match, he got knee barred, and last match, I think it was like 6-2.
He doesn't compete much, right?
It was his first time competing as a brown belt.
Okay.
He's. I think Rob's really good too. He's
sure.
Good flexible style. Good, like slick jiu-jitsu. Just doesn't compete enough.
Yeah.
And
That's
also
something that a lot of people don't realize is that, like, competitive jiu-jitsu, it like almost doesn't matter who's better at jiu-jitsu. It's like
who's got
better,
cleaner technique, right?
Who's better at competing?
Yes.
Like, you could have amazing sweep submissions, takedowns in training. If you're not used to putting that into practice in competition, you're basically a white belt at competition.
Because the level of intensity that occurs when that referee says to go, it's almost impossible to simulate in a training environment.
And like your ability, like, it's when you feel that intensity, if it's the first time you're experiencing it is that day, it's gonna be.
Or if it's been a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hard to manage. Yeah, like I hadn't competed in a long time, and then coming back, like, my first match was super rusty. The second match I came back, it was like
timing was better.
Still rusty, but it was coming off. And then the third match, I was like able to just kind of get into it.
You believe in ring rust?
For sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I mean, like guys like Dominic Cruz don't.
I think at a certain level, it's not there. You know what I mean? I guess in time, the amount of time that you're out too. But like if you're the top of the heap and you got 20, 30 fights, and you know. At that point, you're only fighting like once a year, twice a year. I don't think if you take 2 years off, I think you can come right back and do it.
At the highest levels, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, GSP how long did he take off?
Yeah, that's true.
He came back and won the title.
So going back to going up there with Lemazny and this whole coaching idea, he was the first guy to just come out and ask me if I would go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, but I can go.
Because a lot of people will be like, hey, I'm doing this tournament, and they kind of like look at you like puppy dog eyes, hoping that you'll be like,
and I go, cool, man, good luck.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, good luck. Right? Because you like ask me
Yeah.
if you really want me there, ask me, and then I will see if I can make it. Right, especially when it's on a Saturday. Like I got to get classes covered.
Right.
I really the other thing is I really enjoy teaching. So when I miss some teaching time, I feel not that I really have great instructors that could come in and fill in, but I enjoy being at my school teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you should.
As I do. Squirt. Your Bobo squirt that you're drinking. Moving on. So what? I guess we kind of folded. So how do you envision this podcast as we move on to the next part of what we're talking about? Like what are your goals with it?
My biggest goal is just being consistent and getting it done. That's the really only goal I have.
My biggest goal is really more for you, is to get you to talk into the microphone so that Devin's not pulling whatever hair he's got left out of his head, right?
Have I been doing better?
In and out.
A little bit.
What is it? Is it because I'm like leaning back and stuff? Okay. All right.
Yeah, you like rock back and forth and spin. Look, right now you're like twisting and turning. So you
Okay.
tilt to the side of the mic. You're like this, like this.
All right. I feel uncomfortable with things like
Big black things in your
right,
face.
right up next to my lips.
Hey, man.
It's a little unsettling.
Whatever-
It's a head movement. Head movement.
Whatever you're not into, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
What were we
Donald
talking
Trump is your president.
about? Your president.
All right. We don't want to get political.
Yeah.
We don't know who we might offend. So for you, it's just getting it done.
Just being consistent, because I
Right.
think if we're consistent with it, it'll be good.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
We have a good back and forth.
yeah, good rapport.
Yes. I like that. For me, that's part of it. But I also really want people to hear a side of our voices that maybe they don't typically get to hear, or are really only heard in private conversations.
Yeah, like small little snippets here and there.
where they catch
It's a
it.
chance to like get like even for our students, we'll probably talk about a lot of things that will help them get better.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Like-
and also understand like why and how we do things at
Right.
our schools.
Right.
You know, so you have any? So we already talked about your guy fighting, and so besides using the podcast as a vehicle to help our students, and maybe they get to share it with their friends, and their friends get kind of interested. I did have a guy join based off. I think I told you about this. He said I listened to a podcast, and I immediately. What would be the first podcast you would think of?
Joe Rogan.
Joe, exactly. I was like, oh man, this guy listens to Joe Rogan. So he joins, and he goes, yeah, I listen to Jocko.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
He
you
talks
know,
a lot about jujitsu.
yeah. I didn't realize that, but my first thing I trended to was Joe Rogan talks.
I've had a couple people. I think everybody that has a jujitsu school owns a huge debt of gratitude to Joe
Owns?
Rogan.
Owns,
Owns.
O's,
Runs.
O's.
I said everyone who owns a jujitsu school owes.
You said owns.
I did.
Yeah,
Everyone that owns owns.
it's
or
everyone
owes,
who owns owes, but you said everyone who owes
Owns.
owns.
Whatever.
We could go back to the tape.
I'm sure the audience is smart enough to figure out what I'm saying.
Have you seen the
Nope.
21 people that are following us?
Now I don't even remember what I was saying.
Uh,
We owe a huge debt of gratitude to Joe Rogan for sort of like pushing jiu-jitsu into the more mainstream. I think there's a couple industries that owe Joe Rogan like a royalty check. I think the flotation tank industry,
Yes.
the cryotherapy industry.
I haven't done cryo, but I've done the flotation. tank.
Yeah, like it's that business wouldn't even exist
If he's not
if
out
he
there.
hadn't been out there like.
So when did we send them the
blah, blah,
check?
blah. I'm not going to.
No, you're not gonna.
Um,
So we had a friend. Devin, this would be interesting. We had a friend of ours, and we did his podcast a while ago. That he's been on Joe Rogan twice. He's a MIT professor who's an expert in artificial intelligence. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Just to throw it out in
some
there.
would argue that he's a form of artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Did you see some of those? Did I send you the clip of him talking to Elon Musk?
No, oh yeah, you told me somebody said two autonomous.
It's the first in recorded history, two autonomous computers talking, having a conversation with each other. It was very interesting.
But I've had guys come in and sign up, and I was like, "Well, what got you into jiu-jitsu?" And one guy was like, "To be honest, I just listened to a lot of Joe Rogan."
That's hey man.
And then
I'll
another
take
guy
it. Yeah.
heard about it on Sam Harris's podcast.
Does Sam Harris do jiu-jitsu? Or he just talks about it.
He both.
Okay.
He does it and he talks about it.
Because I know Joe. Obviously,
He
Joe
doesn't.
Rogan.
He doesn't go on and on about it like Rogan or Jocko. But he's mentioned it. And he
I've
talks
never
about like
listened-
how valuable. There's a cool, like YouTube video of him talking about it. It's like a
Sam
it's like a
Harris.
jiu-jitsu highlight with him talking over
Right.
it. I don't think he made it. I think somebody else made it, but it's interesting.
Now, what's Jocko's podcast? Because I know it's like
I think it's just called Jocko Podcast.
no, I didn't ask you what it was called. I go, what was going to let me finish? What's it about? Because he's like an ex-Navy SEAL, right?
He's ex-Navy SEAL. He talks about jiu-jitsu.
Responsibility, waking up at
responsibility.
5 a.m. That
Yeah,
kind of
that
stuff.
kind of stuff. It's like it's self. He talks about working out, jiu-jitsu. He talks about war. I think he always does like I've listened to it a couple times where he always like reads an excerpt from a book. Like it'll be like a war book or like something like that or classic bullshit book.
Gotcha. All right.
you know.
All right. So I think we're getting to the point of the podcast where we start talking about some of the not so fun things of running a martial arts school.
What's your least favorite part of running a martial arts school?
If fielding emails or text messages from people when they want to quit and they want like me to help them quit as a favor and them not following the rules of how you can quit.
Right.
You know, like I got an email this morning. He's like, hey, I've been working, 70-hour weeks, and, I contacted you 2 months ago, and I know I have to give 90 days notice to quit, and I was wondering if you could work with me. And I'm like, you didn't ask to quit 60 days ago. Like, just contact it. Like, those are the things that make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like dealing with that's the not fun part.
I would say the only thing maybe to limit that is have a clear cut, like they have to fill out this form and turn it in. And then that starts.
Right.
Like,
No, I mean,
perfectly clear. Like if you didn't do that.
And
then,
he says, I know that I have to do it in writing. Can you help me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's like, even if that form
send him a pencil and paper.
right. So I think my first kind of line of defense is contact the billing company, because that's who, the cancellation has to go through.
They're the ones in charge of it.
They're the ones in charge of it. But then you run the risk of what? He's unhappy with what they say, and then you get dinged on a Google review or a Facebook review.
Yeah. I don't want to ever worry about that kind. I think that stuff, like you said, like that's your least favorite part of running a business. So I kind of, I'm pretty easygoing about it. I don't want people that don't want to be there.
Right.
I have a simple cancellation policy.
So what do you do so you have a simple cancellation policy? What is it?
60 days notice.
Or
60 days written notice.
What if they don't give you the 60 days notice?
Um,
and they say, hey, whatever they say, and then they're asking you for a favor or, for you to be a good guy.
Right. The billing company, this is what we have to do for the billing company. If they just default on it, then I don't send them to collections.
Right. Nor do
what
I.
mean? It's just, that's on them,
All right.
I mean,
So let the billing company do what the billing company does.
Right. I don't stress about it. Like if a guy doesn't want to be there, I don't want him there.
Right.
And I'm not too concerned with the money, because I think there's plenty of money out there. If one person leaves, two more are going to come in.
Right. Yeah. I guess I get stressed out about it because I'm like, we clearly spoke about this when you joined. It's written, you understand, and you're still asking. I'm sorry that you lost your cell phone and you lost all your contacts.
Yeah. I mean, I think you get to a certain point in life that you know exactly when people are full of shit. So if I get a text like that, it's like, I lost my phone, my mom died, my dog's been sick, I've been having to pay vet bills. It's like, I don't, it just goes past me. Like, I don't care. Like, I know it's like, this guy's full of shit.
Right.
And it disgusts me when people are like that. So it's like, all right, just leave, get out of here.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to hear it.
So then you just cancel them right then and there, or you have them.
I say 60 days notice.
All right.
And then if they just default, then they default. But
gotcha.
I don't suffer fools.
What does that mean?
Gladly.
So you don't let somebody else. What's that?
I don't put up with that shit.
All right,
I don't let them. I don't let it affect me. Like
Gotcha.
it's at a certain point I was really worried about that kind of stuff, but I think it's a waste of time to worry about.
Yeah, it's like out of everything that we do, that's the one thing that's still kind of.
And it's for me. It's not that they want to cancel or leave. Like I don't have a problem. Like if you can't train anymore, you can't train anymore.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's when people lie to you.
Right.
And they think you're fucking stupid.
Right.
It's like the insult to my intelligence.
Yes.
Like, just say you don't want to do it, dude.
Right.
You're not
or that
you
just looked at your credit card statement and you just realized you've been paying for something you haven't been using.
And for the most part, I can tell when people sign up who's gonna be there and who's not. I can almost with like 95%. It's rare that somebody quits that I didn't think was gonna quit when I signed up.
I had an interesting thing happen where a guy texts me, and we're going back and forth, and he says, like, how hardcore is your school? And I go, come in and check it. And this is for his children. And when he asked how hardcore the school is, I asked him, I said, what is your son doing martial arts already? He goes, no, he's doing baseball. Mm-hmm. And I said, because I want my kid to be at a competitive school and, this, that, and the other. I go, come in, take the class. You could see how hardcore it is. And he's like, I want my daughter to do it too. She wants to do self-defense. I go, again, that's why this class is so important. Have him come in and check it out. Morning of, he gets an automated text. He confirms, yes, I'm coming. Half hour before the class, sorry, bro. This is me just imitating whatever I believe his voice to be. not going to make it. Kids don't want to go.
Yeah.
You don't know how tough it is. And I respond back. So I'm trying to formulate, all right, how can I be a giant douche to this guy, but not, if he's not smart enough, he's not going to realize.
Mm-hmm.
I go, did your children not realize that you had made this commitment for them on Saturday morning?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah, they were about it yesterday. Now this morning, they don't want to do it. And I respond back, well, when they let you know, when they want to do it, contact me and we can have them come in.
Yeah.
But he went from wanting Cobra Kai
Right.
to then not even being able to get his kid to come in and try the class.
His kids will be hardcore enough to compete and train at a high level, but they're not hardcore enough to want to stop watching cartoons on Saturday and come train.
No, they're so hardcore that they can make an adult not do what the adult wants to do.
Right.
That's how hardcore of a child this child
Maybe
is.
he would benefit from some training.
Possibly.
Learn how to assert himself.
Something like that. So what about for you? What are what's the one major, like your giant pet peeve in this business?
I feel like an asshole complaining about anything. It's like it's a
Well,
pretty
why should this be any different?
least favorite part. It's like my least favorite part is when people leave. You know what I mean? Not the cancellation part. It's just it sucks when somebody that I see like and it's not even necessarily if they quit training. It's like I have one of my brown belts, Big Pete, Asian guy.
Hugo.
No, the other one.
Okay.
The other Hugo. He's moving to Chicago.
Trying to think. Oh, the stocky dude.
Yeah.
Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Yeah.
Hugo.
You know all those Asian guys look alike. They all trend.
Yeah, so he's moving to Chicago. So it's like I hate seeing him because he just got his brown belt a couple months ago, a year ago maybe.
Right.
So it's like he was, he's one of my top guys. He's been with me like forever. So it's like I hate that. Like,
but he's leaving for good reasons.
Right. It's like it's a bittersweet. It's like I'm happy for him. Like he's gonna be getting a new job, making a lot of money and stuff, doing cool stuff, moving to Chicago.
Which is a cool city, by the way, if you've never visited.
Yeah, it's all right.
Malinati's pizza with the butter crust.
Blue Malnati's okay.
Yeah.
I think Uno in East Norton is superior.
Well, you could think that.
Yeah, that sucks when you see like so I've invested a lot of time with him. He's invested a lot of time in the gym, so it just sucks that he's going to be somebody else's gym now.
So for you, the hardest thing of running your business is saying goodbye to your friends.
Yeah.
That's not even business. The hardest part of your social life is seeing your friends leave.
Yeah. But then, that kind of frustration stuff with like people lying to you and trying to get out of stuff. That's like I said, I try not to let that affect me. So
Right, I got you. Or not, I mean, for me, like I've had people leave, for those good, I'm happy for them, right? And not that, like you're saying, I'm not happy that they're leaving,
Right.
but they're moving on to this next station in life. Like I didn't have it, but Carl, one of our brown belts, just got his doctor. Or he's a doctor now, right? He just graduated.
MD?
Man, that's a point of
PhD?
contention. DO.
Orthopedic?
No, doctor of he's a doctor, but he's a D. There's two tracks. There's MD and DO.
Which is better?
That's the argument, right? A lot of people would say the MD is better. Other people. So as a layman, MD is very kind of like, you're sick with this, we're gonna give you this thing to help that.
Mm-hmm.
Where a DO is trained to take a more holistic approach to your health, as opposed to just fixing the symptoms of what might be ailing you. I'm no expert, but in some cases, people prefer MDs to DOs or DOs to MDs based on how they look at their health.
Right.
But Carl just graduated. He's going to be doing his whatever after graduation. He's an intern. I don't know whatever the term is, but he's
Residency.
Okay, yeah. He's going to be a resident at the Lankenau Hospital, and he's moving to Philly. So I'm going to see him less now, which sucks. But I posted on my Instagram how happy I was for my friend to graduate and become a doctor now, and it's weird to say to somebody that you consider a friend but also a student, like, man, I'm really proud that I was able to be there as you were doing this. Mm-hmm. And the flip side of the stuff that sucks in our business, right? People leaving all this is the gratitude that a lot of that the real people have. Where he was like, man, I don't think I could have, paraphrasing him, like NJMA was there for me in a lot of ways to help me get through medical school.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the flip side of, like dealing with people that want to quit is the people that really appreciate what you're putting out there.
You know what? One thing that irks me.
Go ahead.
It's not necessarily a business thing. It's like a human thing. It's like when the people that they come in, they say they want to fight, or they're like the Cobra Kai guy you were talking about. Like these guys that they have this idea of what they're gonna do or what they're capable of doing. But guys like I wanna fight, and he's in the beginner section of the Muay Thai class, and he shows up once, maybe twice a week. Shows up late. It's like, you want to fight, you got to be training.
Act like it.
5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
Show me a little something that
Right.
you have it in you. But if you can't even show up on time, and you only, and it's like, where were you last week? Like,
Yeah, man.
my girlfriend, she's
Thought
been
you
getting on
wanted
my
to
case.
fight.
Yeah, those kind of people.
Yeah.
Like I years ago, I had a guy that he was like that. He said he wanted to fight. He wanted to be in the advanced section of class. It was like,
and he didn't have the skills to be there?
no,
Okay.
but he thought he did.
But he clearly didn't.
And then he was like upset that he didn't get a fight set up. But he was a guy that was training once, maybe twice a week.
No way. Right. Yeah.
I had this other kid. I kind of admired him for what he did. Like he was training pretty consistently. We got him a fight, and then he stopped training consistently. I didn't see him for like 2 months.
Wait. You got him. He stopped training before the fight?
Yes.
This was his preparation.
Yes.
Okay. He was conserving his body.
He basically stopped training for the fight. He showed up like once every 2 weeks and would train for like 15 minutes and then have to leave. And then
That's a hell of a training protocol.
And I remember being at the fight, like waiting. I was like, I don't know if he's gonna show up. And I would like text him, like, "Are you still fighting? Are you still coming?" And like that day, I was like, "Are you coming today?" And he showed up, fought. He got his ass kicked, but he toughed it out. He made it through the fight.
Right.
Took a lot of like hard punches, gave some hard punches, but he was so gassed after the first like 10 seconds.
I wonder if the not training might have been a part of that.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, hey, next time you should try to train for it. You probably win. But haven't seen him since.
That was it. Yeah, no,
No, he came back like once or twice after that, but then he just.
So this, I think we'll be wrapping it up soon, but this boils back to the name of this podcast that we've been arguing. The Ninja Rob, the podcast for the or a true martial artist, is that guy is looking at this as an athletic endeavor. Mm-hmm. Whereas a martial artist is looking at the fight as a
part of the life,
part of the path, right? Like part of what he needs to do and be to get that self-mastery or to accomplish those goals. Right. Where had he been a true martial artist, he would have come back, right? I mean, you could tell he wasn't a true martial artist or a martial artist because he didn't even prepare for the fight. Right.
And that's earlier when we were talking about my student that we were talking about, he wanted to be good at jiu-jitsu, but he also wanted to be good at everything else. I was like, the conclusion we came to in that conversation was just like, doing martial arts is just it's like your lifestyle. It's not, there's no goal really. Like you can have goals along the way, but as a martial artist, there's just martial arts. You're just going to train and try to get better and add new weapons and get better and better and better until you can't do it anymore, But like black belt, you get to your black belt, then what?
All right, you don't stop.
Right.
You shouldn't anyway.
You got to keep going.
Yeah, that's when they become, it's like, you're a sprinter. You're just sprinting to a...
yeah, and that's what I told him. I was like, there's no timeline, really.
This should be for, like, if you're doing it right and you're doing it around the right people, it should be for life.
Right.
Right? It's something you want to stay connected to it because the people that you meet, right, the ancillary friends that you make through it, right, like we wouldn't be here right now working with Devin if not for the martial arts.
Correct.
Right?
I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing.
Right. But even just like how awesome is this? Is that how would I have the ability to even make that connection? Right. That's the amazing part. And I don't want to lose out on that. That's, my life revolves around this. So here we are at the end of our first official episode. Ninja Rob, the podcast for the or a true martial artist.
So you can't say the or a. You just gotta pick one.
You have it written out. I'm reading what you have written.
I know. But you choose one. Just choose one. You say it. You say mine. I'll say yours.
Which one's yours?
The for the.
The podcast for the true martial artist.
or the podcast for a true martial artist.
We'd like to thank everyone here at
What do you
SFX
think?
Studios. Oh,
What,
all right,
can we ask?
all right, go ahead.
Can we ask Devin?
V
which
or
one
A?
he
What do you
thinks?
think, Devin?
V or A? Which one sounds better?
V twice is not good to me.
Okay. All right. V for A.
V for A.
It's been decided.
So which one did I have?
V for A.
V
Which was
for-
originally my idea, but I'll let you have it.
But you got shook.
I didn't get shook. I had a
No. You
change of-
waffled. You
change
got
of-
you doubted yourself.
waffled,
Wobbled.
wobbled.
You were wobbled and you waffled. So, thank you to everyone that's been listening. I'd like to thank the beautiful studio we have here, SFX Studios, Pennsauken, New Jersey. Devin Wade, if you need anything when it comes to creative stuff, these are your people. And I also like to thank Eddie Lynn, who does all of our video post-production. Have a good day.
Peace.